Hello, in lesson 6.2 special right triangles, you will learn to use the ratios of a 30, 60, 90 right triangle to find the lengths on the legs, the length of the legs and the hypotenuse on this right triangle. So let's look at an example. And first let's look at the ratio between the three things. Well, the three legs, the three sides on a triangle are the hypotenuse, which is on the opposite side of our 90-degree angle. So this is our hypotenuse. And then the short and long leg that intersect at a 90-degree angle. So this leg and this leg here. This leg that is on the opposite of the 60-degree angle, that is referred to as the longer leg on the right triangle. So this is longer than this side down here, which is on the opposite side of the 30-degree angle. So this is shorter. Make it a little bit thinner, and that's shorter. So in this ratio, the length of the shorter leg is going to be referred to as n. The longer leg is whatever that number is, whatever this n is, times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse is the length of the short leg, which is n, times 2. So you can figure out the longer leg and the hypotenuse simply by knowing what the shorter leg is and multiplying it by these respective numbers, by the square root of 3 or by 2 to get the respective longer and hypotenuse. So the ratio between these three things is n times the square root of 3 and n times 2. So depending on which of the three sides they give you, you can figure out the other two by again moving in various directions. So if I know the short leg, I can get the longer leg and the hypotenuse by multiplying by the square root of 3 or by 2 to get the longer leg. And if I need to go backwards, then I just simply go backwards. So for example, on this one right here, notice that the 30-degree angle is up here because this one down here is 60. So that means that this side, this side is going to be the longer leg, and this side is going to be the shorter leg because it's on the opposite of the 30. And the hypotenuse is on the opposite side of the 90-degree angle. So this is our hypotenuse. Since the ratio of our 30, 60, 90 triangle is n times the square root of 3 and n times 2, I know here that the value of n, the shortest leg, is going to be 5. So I know that this number right here is going to be 5. And as a result, I can figure out the other two legs by multiplying by the square root of 3 and then multiplying by 2. I could figure out the other leg by multiplying by the square root of 3, and I could figure out the hypotenuse, the length of the side that's opposite of the 90 degree, by multiplying this value of n by 2. So by doing that, 5 times the square root of 3 and 5 times 2. So this simplifies to 5 times the square root of 3. We cannot simplify that any further, but this number simplifies to 10. So the length on the side that is opposite of the 60-degree angle is this value there. So our E is equal to 5 times the square root of 3, and our F, our hypotenuse F, is equal to 10. So this is how we figure out, again, using this ratio and using these values on this rate, using the ratio of 30, 60, 90. So let's look at another example. So again, the ratio of the 30, 60, 90 is again n to n times the square root of 3 to n times 2. So we have to see what they give us on this triangle in order to figure out the other two sides. So they're going to give us one of these three sides. So let's look at this, okay? So here, opposite of the 90-degree angle is the hypotenuse. So they're giving us the hypotenuse here, and I want to figure out the other two sides. Well, since the 30-degree angle is here, that means that this one is going to be the shorter side. That's going to be the 30. the n, and that means that this is 60, and that means that the opposite side of that s, so that's the opposite of 60, the s, is going to measure this. So right now what they're giving us is the hypotenuse, and they're telling us that the hypotenuse is 32. So we can figure out the value of n, because to get this number of 32, we multiply the value of n times 2. So multiplying some number by 2, we got the answer of 32. So to figure out what that number is, we're just simply going to divide. What we're basically doing is figuring out this equation. So if I divide by 32, I get that the value of n is equal to 16. So this is going to be the shortest side on the triangle. And to figure out the value of the longer side, this one right here, now that I know that n is equal to 16, I'm going to multiply that 16 by the square root of 3. So 16 times the square root of 3, which again does not simplify because the 16 is on the outside of the radical and the 3 is on the inside. So that doesn't simplify, and that's going to be the length of this yellow side right here. So S equals to 16 times the square root of 3, and R, the blue side, is equal to 16. So here are the two missing sides. So again, all we're doing again is using this ratio. And because the three sides are all different, it's a little different than from the 45, 45, 90. Because with the 45, 45, 90, the two legs were the same, and the hypotenuse was simply going to be the square root of 2 times whatever that leg was. Well, here the ratios are all different, so I have to use a different division or different multiplication to get from the smallest side to the two longer sides there. So it's, again, you have to be really careful and make sure that you know which side you have and how can you get to the smaller side first. You always want to figure out what the length of the smaller side is first, so you can figure out the remaining one. So let's look at another example. Again, the ratio between the 30, 60, 90 again is n to n times the square root of 3 to 2 times n. I'm going to write it like this time, okay? 2 times n. N times 2 is the same thing as 2 times n. So we have to see which of the three sides they give us. So let's look at this example right here. Again, notice that they give us, again, the hypotenuse obviously is the one that's opposite of the 90-degree angle. So this is the hypotenuse. So they're not giving us the hypotenuse on this triangle. So let's see what they do give us. If you look at this side right here, here's 30. That means that this is going to be the shorter side. So that's the number that I'm looking for. So across the 30 is going to be the shortest side, which is going to just simply measure n, but we don't know what that value is. Across the 60, which obviously has to be this one, is going to be this side right here. And that's the side that they give us. So they're giving us that the side opposite of the 60, which is this one, is equal to 9 times the square root of 3. So I'm again essentially solving this equation here. So to solve this equation, because I'm multiplying by the square root of 3, I divide. So I'm going to divide by the square root of 3. On this side is really irrelevant. This side, obviously, this is going to cancel out. But I really want to focus is on this, okay? How can I figure out the value of n, knowing that this is true, that n times the square root of 3 is going to equal to 9 times the square root of 3. So if I divide, notice that the square root of 3 are both inside the radical, so I can divide those out, and the only thing that I'm going to be left with is going to be 9. So the value of n here is equal to 9. So now knowing that the value of n is equal to 9, which again is the short side, this side right here, 9, so k is equal to 9, I can now figure out the hypotenuse by multiplying, again, whatever this value of n is, which is 9, times 2. So multiplying it by 2, we're going to get 18. So this hypotenuse is equal to 18. So k is equal to 9 and m is equal to 18. So again, stick with the ratio. Look at what the ratio are. So let's write the ratio and then see which of the three sides they give us. And then we can determine if we have to multiply or divide. Like right here, we would have to divide and get rid of this number from here. So we divide it out in order to go backwards. If I'm given this number, I multiply to get these two numbers. But if I start here or here, I have to divide to get to this number here first. And then from there, I can figure out the other one. So let's do another example. So let's look at this example right here. Again, the ratios are n times the square root of 3 and 2 times n, or n times 2. So if they provide any one of these, I'm going to divide by 2 if they give me the hypotenuse, and I'm going to divide by the square root of 3 if they give me the side opposite of the 60 to figure out the short leg, the one that's going to be opposite of the 30. So let's highlight the side that's opposite of the 30. So here's a 30-degree angle, because obviously this is 60, so that makes this one 30. And the opposite side of the 30 is h. So they did not give us the short side, okay? So we don't know what the short side equals to. We don't know the length of this short side there. So let's see what they do give us. The hypotenuse is the g. This is my hypotenuse. So they are providing us the side opposite. And let me color coordinate this better. And let me color this in blue, because that's opposite of the 30. And opposite of the 60 is this side here. So what they're giving us is that middle length. So they're giving us this middle length of 6. So n times the square root of 3 is equal to 6. So the way we're going to figure out the value of n is that we're going to divide by the square root of 3. So we're going to divide this by the square root of 3 to figure out the value of n. Well, here, the way that we simplify this and the way that this gets divided is that we divide 6 by 3, which is 2, and we just simply add this radical 3 as the product. So we simply put that there. The long way is to rationalize it by multiplying the numerator and denominator by this irrational number down here. And we end up with 6 times the square root of 3 divided by 3. This creates a pair of 3, so the square root of this pair of 3 simplifies to 3. And look again, this is why I just simply do this shortcut, because the pattern is on these type of situations is that you divide 6 and 3, which is going to give us 2, and the radical 3 just simply gets moved up to the top. So we end up again with the same answer. So this is going to be the value of the short leg, which is this side right here. So the short leg is going to be 2 times the square root of 3. So therefore, to figure out the hypotenuse, all I need to do is get this value of n and multiply it by 2. To go from here to there, I multiply. To go from here to there, I divide by this number. And now that I know the shortest leg, I can now multiply it by 2 to get the longest side, which is the hypotenuse. So multiplying 2 times the square root of 3 with another 2, with this 2 right there, multiplies the 2 and the 2 together, which is equal to 4. So 4 times the square root of 3. So this is 4 times the square root of 3. So those are the two values. H is 2 times the square root of 3, and G is equal to 4 times the square root of 3. So again, let's look at another example. So n times the square root of 3, and across the 90 is 2 times n. So let's look at what they give us. Let's start first labeling the three sides. So across the 90-degree angle is our hypotenuse, which again is a u. They don't tell us the length of that one. This is 30. Across the 30, which is this side, is the value they give us. So they're giving us the value of n. So n is 14 times the square root of 3. So to figure out the length of the side opposite of the 60-degree angle, we're going to multiply, which is this one, we're going to multiply this number, that's my n, multiply this number n with the square root of 3. Since again I'm going from the smaller side to the bigger side, I multiply. So I multiply by the square root of 3, so 14 square root of 3 times another square root of 3 is going to equal to 14 square root of 9. And since the square root of 9 is a rational number, the square root of 9 is equal to 3, I multiply 14 times 3, which is equal to 42. So the length of this side is 42. The length on the opposite of the 60 is 42. And now to figure out the hypotenuse, this side right here, again, since I know that the short side is equal to this, I have to just simply multiply it by 2. So 14 radical 3 multiplied by 2 is 28 times radical 3. In this situation, I only have to multiply the 2 and the 14 together because they're both on the outside of the radicals. So that's going to equal to this side being 28 times the square root of 3. So the value of V is 42 and the value of U is 28 times the square root of 3. Alright, so now let's look at another example. Sorry, just double checking the math here. Yes, that's 12, 3, yeah, so 42, yes, okay. So let me just do one more example. Yeah, two more examples to do. So for number 6, again, the ratio of the 30, 60, and 90 is that the short side across the 30 is going to measure n. Across the 60, the longer leg, that's going to be whatever n is, times the square root of 3. And the longest, the hypotenuse, that's going to equal to the short end of n times 2. So let's see what they give us. So labeling the 3 sides, this is my hypotenuse, so they're providing the hypotenuse. So they're telling us that the hypotenuse is 19 times the square root of 3. Across the 60 is that value, and across the 30, which obviously has to be this one, is going to be this value of B. So we need to find the 2 legs, the ones across the 30 and the one across the 60. Well, since they provide the hypotenuse, we can figure out the value of n by working backwards. Since I know that's 2n is equal to this, I can figure out the value of n by working backwards and dividing this number by 2. So n is going to equal to 19 radical 3 divided by 2, which reduces to 9.5. 19 divided by 2 is 9.5, and then we have that radical 3 right there. So the short side, which is the one I've highlighted in blue, measures 9.5 radical 3. So this is 9.5 radical 3. Now to figure out the middle side, the one across from the 30, I simply have to get this value of n, which is this number there, that n, and multiply it by the square root of 3 to get this number right there. So see, look at this. 9.5 times 2 gives me that value. And now this number multiplied by radical 3 is going to give me that middle side, which again is this one right here, the middle length. So 9.5 times radical 3 times another radical 3 is 9.5 times the square root of 9. Since the square root of 9 is 3, we multiply 9.5 times 3, which ends up equaling to a total of 28.5. So this is the answer to this side right here. This is not 28.5. So the value of A is 28.5 and the value of B is 9.5 times the square root of 3. So those are the 2 missing sides. So let's look at another example. So here again, the ratio between the 30, the 60, and the 90 is n. n times the square root of 3, and 2 times n. So let's see what they give us. So start by first identifying the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is going to be k. That's the longest of the three sides, and we don't know that value. Our 30-degree angle is here. Since this one is 60, means that this is going to be the middle length, is going to be the middle one in length, and the shortest side is going to be this one right here, opposite of the 30. So notice again, 30 is the smallest angle, that's going to be opposite of the shortest side. 60 is the middle angle, so that's going to be the second in terms of length, and 90 is the largest angle, which is going to be the opposite of the longest side. So here they're giving us the shortest side, which is 2 times the square root of 6. So let me do that in blue. So 2 times the square root of 6. So to figure out the other two sides, I'm simply going to get this number and multiply them by their respective numbers. So to get the middle length, I'm going to get this small side and multiply it by the square root of 3. So 2 times the square root of 6 times the square root of 3. That's equal to 2 times the square root of 18. And since the square root of 18 simplifies to 3 times the square root of 2, I can rewrite this as 2 times, let me put in parentheses, 3 times the square root of 2. And multiplying these two numbers that are on the outside of the radical, that equals to a total of 6 times the square root of 2. So 6 times the square root of 2. That's going to be the side opposite of the 60. So that's 6 times the square root of 2. And now to figure out the side that's opposite of the 90, I'm going to multiply again this one by 2. So 2 times the square root of 6 times 2 multiplies the 2 with this 2, which is 4. So 4 times the square root of 6. So across the 90-degree angle, we have 4 times the square root of 6. And that's this side right here. So m, or k is equal to 4 square root of 6, and m is equal to 6 square root of 2. So again, the key idea here in figuring out these ratios is by, again, using this right here and then determining which of the three sides they give us. They give us the shorter leg, we're going to multiply to get those two sides. Now they give us the middle or the longest leg, then we have to divide by those respective numbers here to get the short side first, and then we multiply to get the missing side like we've done in these examples. Okay. Well, again, thank you for watching. If you do have any questions or need more examples, please send me a message or remind or email. And like I said, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.